Fowl is without exaggeration the worst Disney movie I've ever seen, and that's not a statement I make lightly. There are Disney movies I think sucked fat asshole, but Artemis Fowl is a whole new beast. This thing stands atop the mountain of asshole that's been sucked and is an unreachable level. This is the raid boss of sucked ass. It is truly terrible in every department imaginable. Nothing in this movie makes sense, nothing flows together. The movie's like 40 minutes long. It's like a fucking speed run of a movie. And by the time the movie ends, you wonder what even happened. Was there a story? Did anything even fucking occur? And if it did, why? It's just a confusing, convoluted mess of dog shit. It is an entire diaper of dog shit. It's truly horrendous, and I can't even believe that it even got put out. This should have just been scrapped. They should have flushed this down the toilet. Something Chris Stuckman mentioned in his review of this film is the teaser trailer for it was almost non-existent in the movie. All the scenes that were shot for the teaser trailer didn't exist in the final cut of the movie that's out right now. There's only like 3 scenes from the trailer that's actually in the movie. Everything else was cut at some point or just never existed in the first place. So I don't know what the fuck happened there. Maybe the movie that got published on Disney Plus is like a rough intern cut for it that they made as a joke and accidentally uploaded. I have no idea. But it is an absolute abomination, a repulsive, putrid petri dish of puke. I can't express enough how bored I was watching it, and then how incredibly confused I was around the mid-game here. So, right away the movie shows you that it's not good, and it knows it's not good. The main character, the lead, Artemis Fowl, the acting is truly terrible, and I don't like saying that because it is a child actor, and I don't even think it's his fault, but there was no direction. It feels like everything that was used was the first take for him. Every single line from Artemis Fowl sounds like it's just being read right off of a script. There's no emotion behind it, there's no like facial expressions, there's no acting, it's just a stoic, neutral face with every single line. It's like in a video game when the animations aren't loading. It just feels so weird. It's like if I was reading the lines. It just sounds like a script reading. It looks like a script reading. It's just weird. I don't know why that would be the takes they'd use, because I'm sure the kid can act. He wouldn't be in a Disney movie if he's not an actor and can't actually act. So I don't know why they'd use only these emotionless moments for like emotionally heavy scenes. I don't think anyone's gonna mind, but I'll get into slight spoilers. There's a character that dies that you're supposed to care about, but none of the characters in this movie have any reason for you to care about them. They're not fleshed out. They have like no relationships with each other that make any sense. For example, one of the main characters becomes a friend of Artemis Fowl after she's been trapped in a cage by him, and then he lets her out of the cage after a while, and she's like, yeah, we can be friends now. Even though she was 3 seconds ago, the scene before, hating him, absolutely fucking hating him, but now they're friends. What I'm saying is there's no reason to care about the characters, but one of the characters is dying, and Artemis Fowl, well, he doesn't care. Or at least that's how it seems, because as the character's dying, the guy's crying, Artemis Fowl, I mean, there's nothing coming from him. He's just sitting there watching him die. He's like, man, this sucks. Bro, you're dying. Dude, this shit. Man, that's tough. You know what? I'll sing you a poem. And then he sings him a poem, all unenthusiastic and monotone. And then all of a sudden the character's not dead because there's a you know, a way to not kill the character. That makes no sense, which I'm going to get into now, because this entire fucking movie makes no sense. Narratively, it's a true mess of nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. There's a main villain that kidnaps Artemis Fowl's dad, and they're only going to get his dad back if they find the Oculus, whatever the fuck, I already forgot what it was called. It's called Oculus, but they say it like Oculus or some shit. So then Artemis Fowl has to find the Oculus, and then, you know, eventually he finds the Oculus, and he gets his dad back, and the villain just goes, no! And that's the end of that. You've only have 3 scenes with the main villain. The main villain is in 3 scenes that I can remember. Maybe 4. I can't. Honestly, the whole thing just is like this fucking fever dream. It actually feels like a dream. You know, you can remember bits and pieces of what went on, but you don't know why it all made sense at the time, even though it never made sense at the time in this movie. Nothing in this movie fucking works. Things just happen. Let me give another example here. Well, first of all, there's only 2 locations in this movie. There's the mansion, and then there's the fairy universe. So they saved a lot of money on locations because the whole movie just takes place at either of those 2 locations, nowhere else. So they really saved a pretty penny on that, I imagine. That and the CGI, because the CGI is absolutely terrible. It looks like we just went back in time 20 years. This feels like a movie that would have came out like in the late 90s, maybe, as like a straight to VHS production. But that aside, the example I want to give, there's a fight on Artemis Fowl's mansion because he's got the important thing, And now the time freeze zone is collapsing. And the time freeze zone collapsing is a really big deal. While the time freeze zone is collapsing, the general of the fairies is getting overthrown by an evil fairy. And while the general's getting overthrown by the evil fairy, the general is getting in trouble because the evil fairy is taking over because he's working with the villain. And time zone's collapsing. The overthrowing guy throws a troll into the house to attack Artemis Fowl, beat the troll, time zone collapse. Now the time zone collapsing is apparently like a doomsday apocalypse scenario. Things go wild, everyone's panicking like, holy shit, this is our last chance to survive. The boy's not going to make it. Artemis Fowl is dead because the time freeze is done. And then in the next scene, after hyping it up and showing how bad it can be, Artemis Fowl and everything's fine. The mansion's fine. Nothing happened. What happens is the time freeze collapses. Artemis Fowl says, we need to find cover. So they run off screen. The next scene, they come out of cover. They're like, damn, that was close. And then right after that, the guy who just overthrew the general fairy says, you know what? You can take charge again. I'm a good guy now. With nothing connecting it at all. He just sent the fucking troll in there. Troll got beaten and now he's a good guy again and they accept him as a good guy. It makes no sense. The movie is a fucking disaster. I mean, like, maybe there's things I missed because admittedly I was dozing off occasionally for like split seconds. I didn't want to miss a single fucking moment of this movie, but unfortunately it is so unbelievably boring and uninteresting that yes, I was dozing off a little bit. But that only speaks volumes to just how truly terrible it is, because I never sleep through bad movies. I don't even think about it, because I am glued to an abominable piece of media. I love it. But this is on another level I didn't even think possible, especially not for Disney. It is crazily shit. It's truly terrible. Plugging this into the moist meter, Artemis Fowl is getting a wonderful 10%. And let me explain. It should be 5, but I'm going to explain why it's 10%. There is an element of this movie in being so bad that it does occasionally cross into the realm of being enjoyably bad. That is the only thing that is saving it from a 5% on the moist meter, because there is some entertainment to laugh at. And that's the only positive. That's the only positive. And that's really about it. It is awful. That's it. See ya. A question I'm often asked is, what is the worst movie I've ever seen? I've seen a lot of movies, a lot of them real dog shitty. From about 2014 to early 2017, I watched every single horror movie that Netflix put on its catalog. Every single one, no exaggeration. So I've seen some truly abominable shit. I couldn't even tell you the name of half of these. I just have fragments of these movies in my brain, burned in my psyche, like some kind of fever dream. I'm basically the Library of Alexandria for awful horror movies if they ever went to Netflix. Like, I remember some bafflingly awful shit. There was this one movie that I'll never remember the name of. It was about some kids who took control of one of their parents' houses or something, and they stole their pool, and then one of their dads gets shot, and they're like, damn, I guess the pool's no good anymore. I guess we'll give the pool back, I think. Something like that. Maybe that made sense to someone out there. If you know what movie I'm talking about, feel free to let me know. But the point is, I've seen some awful garbage. So the other night on stream, I was asked again, what is my least favorite movie I've ever seen? And I've always had an answer. 2 movies. I say that they're tied for my least favorite movie. It's Superfast and Let's Be Evil. And that night on stream, I decided to pull up the trailer for Let's Be Evil, and it reminded me of just how truly terrible that movie was. So now I have a conclusive answer. My least favorite movie ever is Let's Be Evil. And I want to play you the stream clip real quick, and then after that I want to go over why it's the worst movie I've ever seen, because I recently tried to rewatch it. Least favorite movie of all time? It's probably still Superfast. Superfast or Let's Be Evil? No one's ever heard of this movie except for me. This movie was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had watching something. And the worst part about Let's Be Evil is I fell asleep twice, and Tiana rewound it so that way I didn't miss anything. So it was just like the movie went on so much longer than the fucking runtime. The movie's about like these 3 babysitters that go to an underground bunker to babysit some very smart children, but the children aren't that smart. All they do is sit there and touch holograms, and then the babysitters go to sleep, and then eventually the children are evil, so they start hacking the holograms, and the babysitters get upset about that, and then the kids get upset at the babysitters. So then, like, they somehow start killing the babysitters through hacking. and then it's revealed at the end that the children chose the babysitters and they run the bunker. Like it's so fucking dumb. Yeah, I take it back. I always say Superfast or this movie. This movie is so much worse than Superfast. Oh, it's so bad. Oh my god, it's so bad. When we watched this movie, like I said, I fell asleep and Tiana would rewind it so I didn't miss it. I honestly thought that night went on for days. Like, it felt like in Bleach when that dude poisons the guy to slow down time significantly. That's what this movie did to me. I didn't understand a single second of what I just saw. Yeah, because this movie, like, they wrote this movie with nothing in it. They had an idea. Let's get some babysitters and some kids. And that's as far as it went. And it's stretched across, like, how long is it? Like an hour and 30 minutes of excruciating agony? You'll watch that movie, an hour and 22 minutes will go by, and you'll have aged 2 years. It's fucking awful. My god. Which one of you asked me what my least favorite movie is? You've made me mad now. Now I had to remember this movie. I need to rewatch this. So, now I've tried to rewatch it. It didn't go very well. I couldn't finish it. This movie, I fell asleep during it again, and this time Tiana wasn't around to wake me up and rewind it. So I dozed off again. This movie is like actual hypnotism for me. I cannot stay awake during this fucking thing. If you're struggling with insomnia, put on Let's Be Evil. It might help you. And if Let's Be Evil doesn't help you fall asleep, try One Piece. That ought to do the trick. I'm 30 episodes in and goddammit, it is boring. But the point is, I fell asleep about 40-ish minutes in. So then I had to fucking rewind it myself when I woke up in order to finish the goddamn movie. And it's awful. It's worse than I remembered it being. But my synopsis was right on the money. Basically, 3 babysitters go to watch some kids do this in the cafeteria. This is all the kids do. Like, half of the time the kids are on screen, they're just doing this with their hands, because there's little holograms. They're all wearing these goofy glasses. The glasses look like the old 3D glasses you'd get at the movie theater, like when you went to go see Spy Kids 3D, so you just have these stupid, goofy glasses on. They look like the wind goggles that you put on dogs. Like if your dog likes to hang his head out the window, you put the goggles on them so they don't hurt their eyes. That's what it looks like. And somehow this movie cost $9.9 million to make. I can't believe it. Then there's also, of course, the AI companion, which I totally forgot about. They have like this little Cortana, and she's built into the augmented reality glasses that they're all forced to wear. Her name's Ariel. She looks like Chaos from the Sonic series, so like this liquid blob of fucking goo. And she's just like, hey, what's going on, pussies? I'm Ariel. I'm a robot. That's about all she really does. And then the whole movie's like, wow, augmented reality's kind of cool. One of the babysitters, his name's Darby, he's spinning a fucking teapot. He's like, whoa. Yeah, because the teapot's not real. It's a hologram. So he's spinning a teapot, and it's like it's crazy. And then eventually they're like, so we're here to save America. Like that's what they're working under, the assumption of like they're here to watch these kids because these kids are gonna save America. So they're being real patriotic. So it's like, okay, let's go watch the kids do this. You know, and whatever, so they go do that, and then eventually the kids are like, hey, no siree, not on my watch, gonna cut that shit out, so they start killing the babysitters, and then we finally reach the conclusion where it's revealed Cassandra, one of the children, chose the babysitters, so it was all part of their plan the whole time. They just were evil. So, I've looked everywhere online for an explanation for what the fuck this movie was about. No one has any. Not even the most pretentious Redditors have any idea what the fuck went on in this movie, which is shocking. I've never seen that for any other movie ever. This movie is devoid of any and all meaning, purpose, and plot. There's no narrative. The dialogue between the characters is written like the AI in the movie fucking wrote it itself, with no understanding of how human beings communicate with each other. It is shocking. This movie is like if Attaway General tried to make a horror film. It's crazy. This is not a so bad it's good movie. This is the most boring movie I've ever watched, and I don't say that lightly. I would rather play through Death Stranding, start to finish, in one sitting without being allowed to sleep than sit through an hour and 22 minutes of this movie. And Death Stranding is a long fucking game. This is the first Strand type movie. It is a battle just to stay awake watching this fucking thing. It is awful. Now, this isn't a popular movie, of course. I've never heard anyone mention this ever in the history of human language. I don't think anyone's ever recommended this movie out loud or even typed this in like a text message like, hey, let's watch Let's Be Evil. But there still were quite a few people that were commenting on it on YouTube, IMDb, Reddit, and all of them didn't like it for obvious reasons, but there were a few people I saw defending it. So I was just trying to figure out what they saw in the movie that I might have been missing, because I would have liked to get another perspective. Maybe they really fucking solved this Rubik's Cube of a movie and figured out what it was all about, but they didn't. They just said they liked the colors and the sound effects, or the theme song. So if that's the best compliment you can give to the movie, that the colors were cool and the theme song was great, you didn't do a good job with your movie. I'm sure all of you know by now I love watching shitty movies, I love playing shitty games, I love listening to shitty music, because I find all of it to be entertaining. This movie is not entertaining. There is nothing about this movie that crosses the so bad it's good threshold. It is insufferable. I can't express that enough. I've never had a movie that makes me angry to think about. Until now, this movie insults your time left on this planet. An hour and 22 minutes spent watching this would be better spent doing anything else. Hitting your shins with a hammer for an hour and 22 minutes is a more productive and less painful use of your time. At least then, your shins will start to become a bit stronger, kind of like how Muay Thai fighters kick down trees with their shins in order for the bones to be built up a little stronger. Like, that would be better than an hour and 22 minutes watching Let's Be Evil. It's so bad. So yeah, that's about it. That's the worst movie I've ever seen. So yeah. You all know how much I love horrible, bad movies, and I am just giddy with excitement right now to talk about a movie I just saw that I now consider to be the goofiest film ever made. I just got back from the theater from seeing Moonfall, which is Roland Emmerich's new disaster porn. He's the man behind like 2012, Day After Tomorrow, some classics. And with this bad boy, he has created the stinker masterpiece, a smelly magnum opus. This movie, I can't even believe actually exists. I saw it in IMAX because I don't like to just watch a bad movie. I want to feel a bad movie, and goddamn did I feel it deep in my ass. This was an absolutely wild ride from start to finish. If somebody asked me what the best movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. If someone asked me what the worst movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. I don't know whether to give Moonfall a 100% on the moist meter or a 0. This fucking thing was so beautifully awful in all of the perfect ways. I just can't describe it. It is the actual perfect storm of dog shit put into film. The movie was like 2 hours long, and I swear to God it felt like 20 minutes. I was upset when this movie ended. I just wanted it to keep going and going. This movie could have ran 8 hours and I wouldn't have complained if it kept up this intensity. It was an amazing experience. So, spoiler alert, I want to go into it. I really want to fucking peel apart these stinky cheeks and tell you all about this movie start to finish. And let me just go ahead and say, this movie had the audacity to try and hint at a universe, like a Moonfall extended universe, kind of like the Marvel or Star Wars universe they created. Moonfall did that towards the end, and I need a sequel. The human race deserves a sequel to Moonfall. So let's get into it. So the movie starts with our main character, Brian, played by Patrick Wilson, in space with our other extremely important character, I forgot her name already, but played by Halle Berry. That's another thing about this movie. I saw it with Andrew, and the second we left the theater, we couldn't remember a single one of the characters' names apart from, like, Brian and the cat's name, which was Fuzz Aldrin. So, like, that's another thing. Like, all the characters are super forgettable. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson's character, they're in space working on the space shuttle. And there's another character there with them that's helping, and then all of a sudden, a massive cloud of space dust blasts the ship. It tears it to pieces, knocks out Halle Berry, and it sends Brian, like, scrambling to get inside. And then the other guy, who I don't even know if they even gave a name to, his line gets cut, and he just gets sent, like, quadruple backflipping through space for all eternity and dies. And then when they arrive back at Earth, they blame Brian for the whole event, despite there being camera footage of this space dust being the culprit, destroying the ship. They're blaming Brian. They're like, you are a disgrace. your negligence caused the death of an astronaut and the destruction of so much money worth of NASA parts. You're going off book now. Get out of NASA. So then he gets fired. His wife leaves him. His kid hates him. He's now like this drunkard who is really just scraping by and struggling. For some reason, the whole trial was public and he's insisting he was innocent. It was this very strange technological space dust that just fucking flew through like a fart. And he traced it back to a corner, like a quarter of the moon called like Mars Capri Sun or something. I already forgot the name of it. But no one believed him. Everyone mocked him. He got fired. His life ruined as a result. And then we're introduced to a very important character called KC. KC is a conspiracy theorist who really cracks the code that the moon is falling out of orbit. And KC believes it's because the moon is actually a megastructure put there by aliens. So he has his own little group of conspiracy theorists that also believe in the megastructures. And he tries very hard to bring this information to NASA to let them know that the moon is out of orbit, shit's gonna get rough. So just like in Majora's Mask, the moon is coming closer to Earth, and the closer it gets to Earth, the worse it is for humans because the gravitational pull from Earth will rip apart the moon, sending all of these giant chunks into the planet, destroying pretty much everything. A doomsday event, an apocalypse. And no one's believing KC, even though he has all of the research and evidence to back it up. So eventually he turns to Twitter and he makes an anonymous post with all of the evidence, and miraculously overnight the entire world believes him. It becomes the #1 trend, and every single news outlet everywhere is talking about it. NASA comes forward to corroborate it. Now everyone knows, yep, moon's about to fuck our shit up. So then they all try and come up with plans, and I swear to God, every character in this movie makes the stupidest decisions at every possible moment. It blew me away. It's like every character, even the ones that are supposed to be smart, like the scientists, are like lobotomized zombies. They get nothing right. None of it makes sense at all. But even suspending disbelief, you can't help but just sit there and scratch your head like there's no way they just said or did that. Like, I'm trying to sum it up to give you the cliff notes before I like start really dissecting it. So once it's been confirmed that the moon's coming to the Earth, Brian, the disgraced astronaut, teams up with Casey. They hang out for a bit, and then Halle Berry, who's still employed by NASA, it just out of nowhere sends a helicopter to pick both of them up to help them defeat the moon, because now the moon's like a raid boss. So then they come up with a plan to like take an EMP device to the moon. Everyone believes them now. Also, NASA confirmed all of this and then like really figured they needed Brian's help, because they sent like a crew of 3 astronauts up to check out that crater, and then the giant space dust came up in the shape of like a goddamn ringworm, and it kills all 3 of them. So then they conclude like, yep, there's something weird and wacky going on with the moon. It's got some kind of artificial intelligence living inside of it. So then that's when Brian and KC come. My God. I really want to get deeper into it, but I want to give everyone like the full overview of the movie so you can see it. This whole movie is like taking the insanity of a Neil Breen movie, but giving it $100 million to realize the craziness. A better example for all the weebs. If you've seen Gurren Lagann, where they start in like underground, and then by the end of the show, they're in space mechs throwing galaxies at each other. It's that, but for pseudoscience and conspiracies. It's fucking mind-blowing. So, Brian, Casey, Halle Berry, they're at NASA. Everyone knows Doomsday's coming, so they're all, for some reason, taking refuge in Colorado. The word Colorado must have been mentioned 1,000,000 fucking times throughout this movie. This had to be just some kind of propaganda to increase tourism there or something. And also you see Kaspersky on billboards, and apparently all of NASA is powered by Kaspersky antivirus, because every time they fire on a computer, it just says Kaspersky. And that's all there is on the screen. It's just like they look at Kaspersky and things start helping. But I keep getting too specific. Again, everyone's at NASA. They come up with a plan. They get this old EMP device that they're going to take to the moon and blow up the space worm. And this also confirms that space dust that blew up the ship that Brian was on initially were nanobots from the AI. So they've got the plan, they've got the EMP, they've now got Brian to pilot it, but something goes wrong. The moon's getting closer, so an earthquake happens, and it cracks the coolant in one of the engines, and it plays out exactly like this. I'm not exaggerating. Halle Berry and Brian go up to check out what's going on. One guy says, the coolant's leaking, and I don't know how to fix it. No one here can really fix it. And she's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, well, that's the end of the mission. I guess everyone needs to go home." So every single person at NASA, except for Holly Berry, Casey, and Brian, as well as two other data analysts and a couple of military guys, all leave and abandon the Earth and just like, "Yep, I guess we just have to accept this is the apocalypse and there's nothing we can do." Just because one of the coolants was leaking a little bit, and then the solution, I shit you not, was we'll just fly without it. Apparently, the entire time they could just fly without it because the moon was close enough, and Casey knew that and then relayed the information a little late to Holly Berry, and she just didn't bother to call anyone back. She's like, "All right, well, I already told them they can leave. They can go. We can do it ourselves." So then we get our heroes strapping into the spaceship, ready to take on the moon, and as the moon's getting closer, it's causing gravitational disturbances, so there's water that's getting sucked up, and it's like giant waves of water that are just standing there. And those two like data analysts that stayed behind that I briefly mentioned, they get evacuated. They get into a helicopter with the military people because the waves are getting closer as the moon's passing over. And I can't even believe this fucking happened. They take off with plenty of time to escape, but instead of going away from the waves, the goddamn pilot kamikazes into the waves, and it's supposed to be this emotional moment of, oh my god, there is no escape. But like you can see when the helicopter takes off, it could have just gone right, but instead inexplicably just goes left into the waves. And I'm missing so many impressive details. Brian's son, who hates him, went to jail. Brian got him out of jail. And for some reason, the military flew Brian's son here just to be in like the middle of the shitstorm. So Brian's son's there and then needs to take off in a car away from the facility as the waves are getting closer. But instead of taking off, he goes to a mountain and parks just to check out his dad's spaceship as the waves are getting closer. So the spaceship takes off, it's beating the waves, but his son and then Holly Berry's son is also with him, and then their babysitter are all just in this car, outside of this car watching. And then eventually the kid's like, all right, now it's time to probably go. As the waves are literally like bashing the bumper of the car, it's like, okay, we've had our fun. So then they engage on this high-speed chase against the moon, and then they eventually get hunted by people that are like scavenging for parts. Oh my god, it's so much. So everything on Earth's going to shit. Gravity's all fucked up. Holly Berry, Brian, and Casey are now heading towards the moon, and it turns out the AI that inhabits the moon is attracted to electronics, but only if there's organic life inside of it. So the EMP they brought is useless because the AI won't bite it. So they're using it like bait and trying to fish with it, but for some reason it needs to be inside of it. They don't explain why. The AI was circling it and like playing patty cake with the EMP, and they didn't blow it up for no reason. They just concluded that it needs to be inside. So they get the EMP back and go deeper in the moon, and it turns out the moon is actually a Dyson sphere built by aliens, confirming Casey's theory that also happens to grow potatoes inside of it for some reason. And it's a Dyson sphere encapsulating a white dwarf that it's using for its power source, and the AI is sapping the power from the white dwarf. And then the AI gets alerted to the crew that's in the spaceship that's flying around. And then a door opens in the Dyson sphere as the AI is tracking them, and it shuts, closing out the AI and then saving the crew. And then it turns out that the Dyson sphere wasn't built by just any aliens, it was built by ancient humans, and they communicate to Brian through celestial beams and flashbacks of his son talking to him, kind of like in Mass Effect 3 where the Reapers take on the body of a child. They did that for Brian in order to talk to him. It was a sentient AI being, like it was an AI construct for the Dyson sphere. It was built by humans that billions of years ago were spacefaring, hyper-advanced technological superstars, and eventually they created an AI that turned on them via kind of like Skynet, and it made all of them go extinct. But before their final extinction, they built giant moons that they would toss out to corners of the universe to try and remake humanity elsewhere. And this just happened to be the last surviving one, the only one the AI couldn't find until this movie. So that's the explanation there. Eventually they upgrade the EMP, the AI construct on the moon, like turbocharges the EMP, then gets some defense systems going that just start shooting bullets at the AI, and then they're escaping the moon. Casey blasts open the hatch with himself inside because he says, you know, an organic being needs to be with the technology in order for the AI to bite me. And he's like, oh my god, Casey's gonna die. Brian and Holly Berry are upset, and Casey's like, no, it's fine. So the AI starts eating him, and he's like, you underestimated us. Blows up the EMP. And then, you know, Casey's dead. AI's gone now, so the moon is back. So then the moon leaves Earth, and now it's just this giant Dyson sphere that is now outside of Earth, and everyone's happy. Earth's super fucked. Everything flooded. Everything got absolutely destroyed, but there's still some people left, and now the moon's our friend again. And, yeah, that's not where it ends. So Casey didn't actually fully die. The AI construct on the moon installation actually copied his consciousness into their database, and now Casey has become the moon itself. And the last line is, we have work to do, which hints at expanding the universe and bringing all of the other AI that is still out there into the fold. And my god, I can't wait to see the sequel. I pray there is one, because this was amazing. I am not even doing this justice with my brief explanation. I need to get into the nitty-gritty of it to tell you just how fucking off the wall this shit was. So the billion-year-old humans, they basically just created Halo. They just stole Halo's plot for a little bit. The installations they made back then were Halo rings. They all lived on Halo rings. And the AI they made, for some reason, turned on them like Cortana. Almost in the same fashion. They deemed that humans weren't worth saving and that they were inferior to them, and just started wiping them out inexplicably. Like, this movie is fucking incredible. Like, the visuals were kind of cool. Like, you know, you always like to see those big budget disaster visuals, and when they'd have the moon peeking over the Earth, it looked cool. And they had awesome lines such as, watch out, the moon is rising. And then all of a sudden, like, boats would be flying overhead, fucking manatees falling onto the ground. Oh my god, it was so good. And there was like an advertisement for Alexis, because when there was these people, the scavengers that were hunting down the son, eventually the son meets up with Brian's wife and her new husband that cucked him or whatever. And they're on this high-speed chase, and they can't get away, right? These scavengers, they're so fast, and they want their oxygen tanks. And they're in a Lexus, and they keep zooming in on the Lexus and like throwing it, drifting around. And the dad goes, hold on, I'm putting this into warp speed. And they zoom in on the Lexus logo, and then him turning from economy mode to sport mode, and then it fucking turbocharges and goes wild. Then they're able to outrun him. This movie, man, is actual fucking genius. Like, I can't talk enough about it. Every single moment of this movie, when you think they've run out of stupid juice, finds another way to make it even dumber. And I couldn't appreciate it more. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I don't even know how you make a movie this dumb. On accident, too. Like, this isn't a self-aware movie. There is no self-awareness in this movie at all. There's a couple of jokes, but they're not like self-aware jokes. They're just like general, decently written jokes. But nothing is self-aware. It really takes itself super seriously, and I love that about it. The best kind of bad movie is one where the director really wanted to do something special but just didn't have the talent or the vision to realize it. And this is one of those cases. It is, in every possible department, the best way to make a bad movie. It is the worst and goofiest movie in all of the right ways. I just don't think you could make a movie this stupid on purpose. This movie was just an amazing experience. This was something truly special. If you like bad, shitty movies, this is the movie to go see. This is going to be 2022's best stupid movie, I think. It would be tough to beat this one. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because I've had a smile on my face ever since leaving the theater. There's still so much more I could talk about with this movie. I've barely even scratched the surface of lunacy with Moonfall. But it's just, without you having seen the movie, it's not going to make as much sense. And sense is a word that is blasphemous to even use in the same sentence as Moonfall. That word never once crossed the